So as we are looking, and we're going to just kind of keep working our way through the review, in number 22, if I am looking at that equation, Larissa, in the first equation, what do I know my y-intercept is, my start point? Number 22. 0, 1.
0.
Y equals negative 2x plus 10. My y-intercept is?
1.
Isn't it plus 10?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my y-intercept, I get to start this one at 10, okay? And Sonia, if I'm using my slope in that one is? The number, first one, negative 2. So from this point to 10, I'm going to do what? Which way, negative 2? Okay, so please write this down. M equals rise over run. So you're telling me negative 2. Negative 2 over what, Sonia? 1. From 10, 0, 10, my beginning, right? I am going to do what? Because I think you were telling me not something quite right. Okay, wait. What number is on with the 2? Rise. And run is with the bottom. Rise means this tells us to go up and down. This tells us left and right. So if you go over 2 and down 1, and I check this point, 2, 9. 2, 9 will not make this a true equation. That's not a point on that line. So what should I have done instead? I shouldn't go over 2. I should go down 2. So one recommendation, go back to the slope-intercept, point slope, unit B, unit C. Read through those notes. If you need to go back and watch a video, go back and watch a video if you're getting confused on this. So we are going to go down 2. So we get to 8 and we're going over 1. So we're 1, 8. We're going to continue doing that. So please draw that line. Your line doesn't have to be perfect on the final. I will give you rulers as you're drawing this, okay? Grace, are you ready to help me with the second equation for my start point? Start point is where? Because it's in point slope form. 6. Is it negative 6, 4 or is it 6, 4? 6, 4. Because remember, point slope form is M and it's X minus the X1 plus Y1. So I'm looking at those 2 points, X1, Y1, and I'm telling me to start at 6 and up 4. Okay? All right, Prasha, what is the slope of that line? 1. So the second equation, so Larissa, I don't know if that's what you were thinking when you were thinking slope of 1. And I get my point of intersection. Griffin, what is the point of intersection? 2, 4. Okay. You think it's 4, 2. So Griffin, how would you check it to make sure you did it right with these 2 equations? How could you check it without checking it graphically? What could you do with the point 2 and 4? Because someone thinks it's 4, 2. Allie thinks it's 4, 2. And you might not too. But nonetheless, you took this on the test and you are confident. And you put your answer down and you're like, okay, I think I should check this because I've got time. How could you check it? Can you tell me? Okay, the X is 2 and the Y is 4. Do you agree? These are skills that when you take a test, the ordered pair is always X, Y, right? So you said 2, 4. In this first equation, I'm going to replace Y with what? 4. Okay, so if I'm going to check in the first equation, I'm going to go 4 equals negative 2 times 2, my X, plus 10. Does 4 equal negative 4 plus 10? Now, so right away I'm like, oh, It looks like I graphed it right. I think I did it right. And my mistake was, what, Griffin? You went up, right? When you think of X and Y, X is always left and right, Y is up and down. And I always have people tell me, well then why does slope rise over run? Because this is the change in Y. Y is vertical, that's the second one. This is change in X. Change in X is horizontal, okay? So if you're getting that part mixed up too, you just gotta, I go back and look that over, okay? So the answer was 4-2 as you're looking at that in the back. But now I'm on 23. 23, Sophia, we want to graph it. First one's already set up really nice for us. What do we need to do? Start where? 4, and then do what for a slope?
It's just an X.
Yep. So what do I do for that slope?
It's just over 1 up.
Over 1 up 1. Over 1 which way? Right or left?
It goes up or right.
Up and to the right. I agree. Should this be, as I am looking at this, Jacob, solid or dashed? Dashed. By the way, make sure you guys finish that one off. This is a dashed line as we are looking at it. And Jacob, where would you shade when you read that? How do you read this?
Y is less than X plus 4.
Okay, so where do you think I should shade?
On the right side.
So would you tell me below or above?
Below.
Below. Okay, so we think this is kind of our solution, okay? Riley, you're going to help me with the second equation. I don't like how it's written. What do I need to do? Okay, so I'm going to have Y. How do I get it in slope intercept? What do you do with that 2X? We're going to subtract it. So Y is less or equal. Tell me what to write. Okay? Which means, Allie, I'm starting where?
-4.
-4. Viola, once I start at -4, then what do I know my slope is? 2 over 1. So what does that tell me to do on this graph from this point? Down 2 over 1, which way? To the left? Just a positive slope? Or negative? So if I think, and this is where you guys might want to try and remember the face, right? And go, oh, that's not negative, right? So if I go down 2, I have to go, not this way, but over 1. I can't go down 2, that's not going to help me. So instead I'm going to do what? And back 1. Okay, up 2 and back 1. Up 2 and back 1. Kaden, solid or dashed?
Solid.
Solid line. Ben, am I shading above or below that solid line? Because we read this as what? Y is, ooh.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, we want to call this less or equal to -2x minus 4. So tell me again, where do you want me to shade? Above the green line or below it? Below. And this is where my final answer is. And on the last test, what I asked you to do then was I said, give me a point that gives a solution. So then you would have told me any point in this region. You could have said -3, 0, right? You could have said over at -4, 0. You could have said -2, -2, right? Any point that makes that true, okay? And yes, if I was looking at this on your test, I probably would have done this lightly and then I would have shaded just that region. So we are not going to do number 24 because it's the same type of question, right? You should be able to see they give you both the slope and the y-intercept. In both, they're really, it's in slope intercept form. One should be a solid, one should be dashed as we look at that. Let's take a look at number 25. So 25 asks you to write a system. So when we are looking at 25, Kaden, we're going to take that dashed line. In that dashed line, we know it's gonna be a y is less, because we're looking at the dash. What's the y-intercept? It'll be easier to look at your paper than up here.
8.
Okay, so we have at positive 8, and what would you say the slope is?
1.
So y is, if we're looking at that, less than x plus 1, okay? As I'm looking at that solid line, Larissa, what am I looking at this solid line?
Y is greater than x.
And we're gonna go with an equal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Y is greater than or equal to x minus 1.
let's go to
Negative
y-intercept
1/2
first.
x.
1/2 x,
Yes.
okay? Positive 1/2 or negative 1/2?
Negative 1/2.
Negative 1/2. And I could look at that from going from any of these points down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. X, and then you'd have plus what? Or minus?
Minus
Y-intercept of what?
minus for
Minus
minus 2.
2?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. 26 to the 29. I don't care which way you saw, but I want to try a couple, or one with substitution, one elimination. Yeah.
Maybe number 30.
Yes, for sure. So, 26, what seems to be make sense? Should use substitution. Because what do you know about x and y? They're the same thing, right? So we might put y minus 3y equals 4. You now have an equation with all one variable. Remember, you always have to get an x and a y, okay? 27, 28, or 29. Anyone want me to look at any of those? We could do at least one of them. Should we do 27 or 28? I think 29 is going to be no problem with elimination. Which one?
I just have a question.
Sure.
So for doing these, are we doing like every like section, like when there's like a gray mark at the top, do we do like that section like every day?
So you're going to try and do 24 questions.
Just 24 questions?
Yep, so like today, hopefully you're through 48. What if you don't get them all done? I'm hoping, so like next week I'll probably put on a video because our class is probably going to be the only class meeting. And so like maybe we'll end up doing more from the review and I'll attach those. Because period 6 isn't meeting because they're testing or in their other classes or whatever. They might be meeting. So we kind of got to figure out exactly what we're doing. So I hope to get through the majority of these, but it's going to be tight in this one just because those first ones. So we'll see how many. When is the final packet due? Next week on the 19th. So really, I mean, I'm assigning them, but I'm not checking anything till next week, right? So when you're in testing, you could be working on it after you're done with your testing session and it's not due, okay? All right, so 27 or 28, which one? We want to pick one. Someone, pick one. Yes. 28, and then we are going to do 31. Or 30, was it, or 31? 30. Okay, so 28. We know y equals this, so I would suggest replacing the y in that second equation. I would go with, I want to keep in mind that my answer is going to be xy, but I would put 3, and instead of putting y, I would put in negative 2x plus 5 equals negative x minus 5. And now we're solving equations. And when we solve an equation, we are looking at distributing first. So we have negative 6x plus 15 equals negative x minus 5. If I continue to solve this, I'm adding in 6x maybe to both sides. I get 5x minus 5 equals 15. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. 20 equals 5x, and I'm like, oh, x equals 4. I can put that in right away that x is 4. Next, to me, the easiest one is this equation that says y equals. And I put y equals -2. Replace the x with 4, add 5. -8 plus 5, -3. Oh, I don't think I did it right. I'm going to go to that second equation and do the check. So when I do the check, you want to go to the equation that you didn't use to solve for the second variable. So I go 3 and I go, oh, y was -3. 3 times -3, does that equal -4? Because that was my x minus 5. And this is -9, and this side is -9. And it checks. So I know I put the letters in the right spot. If you put -3, 4, that's a different answer. Okay? So, question was 30. So I look at 30 and I think, oh, this is beautiful. Gonna eliminate, right, Allie? Add these together, gonna eliminate. So 2x plus 3x gives me 5x. Y minus y, 0. -5 plus -10 gives me -15. X equals -3. I want to find y. I'm going to go to one of those two equations. It doesn't matter which one. And I'm going to put 2. My x was -3 plus y equals -5. -6 plus y equals -5. I will have some people tell me -11 for y, because they think they should add the -6 and -5. But really, remember, you're doing the opposite, and you should have had -3. Okay? So when we look at this, my x, and this is going to be my hours studied, and this is going to be my grade. And it has a broken graph. Because what's our lowest test score? 60? So could I start at 60 and maybe go by 5? So 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. We don't have anything over 100. Actually, we only go up to 90 something, right? And then down here, my hours of study, this would be my 0. 1, 2. Okay. Plot your points, right? You guys can plot those points. So I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to give you just a minute to take a look at that. Fine. And again, keep in mind when you drew your trend line, you want half the data above and below. And they definitely would want a ruler for this. I'm going to start mine like here. And I'm going to use this one. Okay? And I look at it and I go, oh, this is a nice point. This is at 380. 3 hours, 80. Was that one of my data points? No. It's on my line. Okay? The other thing I noticed on my line is, well, this one looks like it's almost on the line. So I'm going to use that point at 4 and 90, or 5 and 92. I don't know why my pen isn't working for me. Okay, 592. So well, what's the equation? Well, in order to write an equation, you need the slope, right? So if I'm going to do this, the first thing I have to find is my slope. I'm going to do the change in y divided by change in x. Now, if you would have picked easier points, like could I have picked this one and said, oh, I know this is 0.63. That's a nice point to pick. Why? It's my y-intercept, right? And then I could say, oh, going from 63 to 80, if I wanted to use those 2 points. 80 minus 63 is a change of what? 63, 80 minus 63. Subtract those. What do I end up with? 3 minus 0, 80 minus 63. How much are we talking about? 17. 17 divided by 3 though, right? because the change here was from 0 to 3, right? So 17 divided by 3 is going to be a little over 5 something, right? Okay? You guys have your calculator if someone want to divide that and give me the exact? 5 and 2 things?
Yeah.
5.6, okay, 5.6 repeating, okay? So, I know this is my slope and I know this is my y-intercept. I'm going to use that for my equation, right? My equation is going to be y equals 5.6 repeating x plus 63. So it says predict a student for 6 hours. Oh, that means when x equals 6, what do I get y equal to? So I am going to replace this x with 6 and solve. Now, could someone else have had a totally different equation? Could they have had y equals 5x plus 60? Yep. And I would count that right? So it depends on where you draw your line. So then it says predict when they get a 72%. That means if y equals 72, what does x equal? So I would go to the equation, y equals 5.6x plus 63, and I put 72 here. 5.6x, and I'd solve that. And you guys know how to solve. You subtract 63 on both sides and then divide by 5.6. In this equation, you're going with 5.6 and you're replacing x with 6 plus 63 and finding y. Yeah.
I just did different points and I got 0.15.
I would just check your scale and your numbers that you use. And we can look at yours if you want when you come in, if you want to come in and we can look at it and answer those. It's pretty much time to go. So looking at 36, I just want you to know that we didn't cover 37 to 39. So you might see that on the final, but you don't, I'm not going to test you on it. We did not do two-way tables. They're not hard, but we just didn't study those. So you're clear and good with that, okay?